There's like the Jean-Michel Basquiat, who is this profound painter and creator. And then there's Jean-Michel, our brother, Jean-Michel, our parents' son.
I marvel at his genius and the creativity that he had. But then I really just kind of cherish those moments that we had and can't really believe that this is the same person.
My name is Lisane Basquiat.
My name is Jeanine Heriveaux. We were there during the life and times of our brother, Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel was born December 1960 in Park Slope, Brooklyn. Eventually, we ended up on 35th Street in the East Flatbush section of Brooklyn.
It was really a very old Brooklyn neighborhood where kids would play on the street and we'd play hopscotch and double dutch and the ice cream truck would come down.
As a child, I would describe Jean-Michel as curious, mischievous, playful, quite the prankster. So he would do things like leave bugs on our bed and make coffee and tell us to drink it, and it may not have coffee in it.
We were kids, it was summertime, and there was some kind of a block party or something happening. And there was watermelon on the table, and our mom was cutting the watermelon up. And so Jean-Michel says to me, he says, you should eat the watermelon seeds because if you eat them, then when you sweat, you'll sweat watermelon juice. All you have to do is stick your tongue out and you'll be able to just like drink watermelon juice all the time. And my greedy behind, I did it. It was ridiculous. So we three are the children of a Puerto Rican mother and a Haitian father. Our father came to this country when he was less than 20, and he used to tell the story that he came to this country with a toothbrush in his pocket and couldn't speak the language, and it was cold. And then our mom was from Brooklyn and Puerto Rican. And so we grew up within the context of that and all that that meant in terms of what their dreams were for their family and for their children. One of the things that our mom did was she brought Jean-Michel to the Brooklyn Museum to ensure that he got a membership card. And so he became a member at a very, very young age.
Jean-Michel had difficulty in high schools because he was one who just didn't really excel in kind of the traditional setting. And I think that his mind was genius-like, and he was just bored. And so because of that, he tended to get in trouble with his teachers because he couldn't stay focused.
Or right around the time that he turned 17 was when he actually left. Our father came from Haiti, where you are successful when you are a white-collar attorney, doctor, accountant, or when you're in business. Just imagine being a teenager and telling your Haitian parent that, no, I'm not gonna be a businessman like you envisioned for me. I'm gonna go and do this other thing that's risky, that's never been done before. And so he went off to go and do that. So it was a very stressful, strained, and a scary time for both of them. I realized that things were starting to unfold for Jean-Michel when I went to a show that he had at the Adina Nozay Gallery. He invited us all to this opening that he had, and it was like filled with the kind of thing that you would see on TV, where it was like a gallery and there were all these like beautiful people around. And it was then that I really started to recognize that he was really doing well and making this happen for himself.
It is a huge misconception that Jean-Michel left home and never saw us again. But Jean-Michel came back. He knew that he had to come back and let my dad know that he had made it, and which is what he did. He had had a show. He showed up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and he rang the doorbell in a limousine, tired, with these huge dreadlocks that, you know, he didn't have when he left. And the first words out of his mouth was, "Papa, I made it." I think that was a very proud moment for him, to show my dad that I had a purpose. I was determined to do this, and I did it successfully.
Jean-Michel loved movies and books and music. He had a wall full of videos. He was an avid reader.
Jean-Michel was a world traveler. He was a collector of various things, from other artists' works to baseball cards, and he just had so many different interests. Jean-Michel hung out a lot. You know, it was kind of part of that time period. So he was at the Mud Club, he was at Aria, he was at the Palladium, and you know, he was frequently at Mr. Chow and going to other art exhibits and galleries. You know, it was a fast-paced life, it was a partying life, and it was fun. If there was something that he was interested in, he dove right into it. You know, doing the runway in Paris for Comme des Garçons, being in a noise band, really kind of immersing himself in food and culture and travel, the DJing.
Rituals in Africa. I think Jean-Michel was really trying to break through the barrier and the constriction of the way that Black people were being portrayed at the time. It was like there was one story for every Black person at the time, where it was like a kid grows up in poverty, is exposed to certain things, and he himself was a child of an immigrant father. And he grew up in a middle-class and upper-middle-class lifestyle. And it frustrated him that there seemed to be this very singular way of looking at people living the Black experience. And he really wanted deeply to broaden that view. And I think he also was very clear about who he was as a Black man and the way that he portrayed himself through the symbolism of a crown. He knew that he was royalty. He knew that he was valuable. His success also, in a lot of ways, took him outside of his circle and into another circle where he, in some ways, was alone. Jean-Michel was frustrated at times at having to defend not as much his work, because his work is phenomenal. What he did have to defend was himself. He had to defend his identity. He had to defend the image that people wanted to have, where they wanted to pigeonhole him into, for example, being a Black artist. And he wanted to be seen as an artist. He wanted to be respected as an artist. He was very frustrated at the questions that would be posed to him. Like, I remember this one interview, and I don't remember who it was with, but he defended the fact that he was an artist in residence versus the way that he was being portrayed, that he was like this wild guy with dreadlocks
in a
basement where they were like throwing food down to him. And so he was given this kind of dual role of introducing his artwork to the world and also having to defend his humanity.
The collaboration show between Jean-Michel and Andy Warhol, for whatever reason, received really negative press. And the critics were not kind to the work and to Jean-Michel. And some of the words really dug deep for him and really affected him mentally. And he pulled away from a lot of people. He distanced himself from Andy. And then shortly after that, with Andy's passing, that really, really hit him hard. I called him to express my condolences. He could really barely talk on the phone. And so I think those two things just had him at a place where he felt alone.
I think that that's probably one of the things that hurt the most, was that he was in that place and was feeling that way right around the time that he passed away. You know, for years afterwards, I would think, you know, if he could have just, you know, seen himself around that corner, he had a family, and we all loved each other very, very much, and we all still do. Ultimately, you know, we lost a brother, and our parents lost a son, and that's very tough to live through. It has been humbling and mind-blowing to see people from all walks of life, from all over the world, who have all of these stories about their own struggles with their own identity, and then having discovered this artist named Jean-Michel Basquiat and what that did for them or how that has impacted them.
For me, the best thing is knowing that Jean-Michel is proud and smiling and happy, and seeing that we are making sure that his voice is brought to a younger audience, and making sure that his work is being seen by those who may not have the opportunity to get to a museum, who may have never been to a museum, but are interested in seeing work of someone that looks like them.